So I'm trying to record the class. Yeah. So this class is being recorded now. You're all welcome once again. So today we are going to look at tax computation, and we also look at how to file those tax online. So let me open the call for anybody that want to join, so that I don't need to start accepting people. Then I'll also share my screen. Then we kick off. Okay. All right. Now you can see my screen. Can you?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
No, I can't see it, sir.
All right. So you will see it now. Just hold on. Just hold on. I will share something now so that you can see what I'm sharing. I'm opening the file I want to share. And you can you see the file opening?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me see if you can see my screen.
So I'm not seeing.
You go to now?
Yes, sir.
No, we can see your screen. No. I can see your screen very well.
If I need to log in and log in, if you can't see my screen, kindly log out and then log in again. It's from your end, sir. Thank you. So quickly, whoever wants to log out, you can quickly do that now before we start the lecture. So today's class, I told us, is going to be very interactive and it's going to be very informative. I can assure you that. So let's look at what we're going to look at. Straight up, we are going straight to the payroll computation itself. Now, I'm going to start. If you are privy to work with any organization, you discover that there's something they call the gross salary. So that gross salary, the way they arrive at it is dependent on the company policy. So I'm going to adopt a policy for us now. So that policy, we can decide to also use it, or we can decide not to use it. So I actually use this template for training today, but let me just delete this thing and let's start the training proper. So now, for this organization that we have here, okay, all right. For this organization that we have here, we have basic, we have the salary is divided into basic, housing, transportation, education allowance, utility allowance, inconvenience allowance, we have dependency allowance, we have lunch allowance, we have security allowance. So those are the deductions that forms the gross salary. So now, normally on your employment letter, you would have been given a figure, which they may not break down for you. Some companies will break it down for you. They will tell you that, okay, this is how we came about it. Well, let's check that gross amount. So let's go to the end of this sheet. Now, if you look here now, you will see monthly gross salary, and here we have annual gross salary. So is this annual gross now that we want to use? Okay, this is the annual gross. Now let's now break it down. We know that for this gross salary is like 100%, right? So since it's 100%, and then we have all these things here, we can decide to use 100% as a whole to divide it into these different subcategories. We have basic, we have housing, we have transportation, we have education allowance, utility, and so on and so forth. So for basic salary, let's make basic 20% of the gross salary. So now say 20%, okay, multiplied by the gross salary. So let's go and select the gross salary. So we are taking it as 20% of this gross salary. Okay, so I want you to see what I'm doing. So this is the annual gross salary. So we are making the basic 20% of it. Okay, so that is what we have over there. So that's what the basic is going to be. Then for the others, we want others to be 10%. Okay, so if we have basic to be 20, then we have 80 remaining. Is that not so? So that 80 now, we are going to break it down into this housing, transportation, education allowance, and so on and so forth. So let's start. So for housing now, we're going to say equal to, we want to give others 10%. So of the gross salary. So equal to 10% multiplied by the gross salary. We go and check the gross salary. Okay, so we are making others 10%. So 10% of the gross salary. So that is what we call our housing. Then we want this to be the same, because here we have 20 here. We want the others to be 10%. So what do? We now come to this, our formula, because it's the gross salary. We don't want to be going to the gross salary all the time. No, we don't want it. So what do? We want to make this thing an absolute reference. In Excel, there's what we call relative referencing. There's also what we call absolute referencing. So by default, Excel is calculating as a relative reference, in the sense that Excel is adjusting your formulas. Okay, Excel can adjust your formulas. It has that liberty. But if you make it an absolute reference, it means that you are telling Excel that no matter where I drag my formula to, don't adjust my formula. Whatever I've picked, if I pick that I want everything to be multiplying by cell 1, everything I'm going to, wherever I drag the formula to, I want everything to be multiplying by cell 1. Okay, so we can make that. So there's what we call relative referencing. There's what we call absolute referencing. So by default, Excel is calculating as a relative reference. Okay, there's no restriction on Excel. I hope we can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, now to make this thing an absolute reference, just click your cursor. So another thing I want you to also know is that in Excel we have alphabets, we also have numbers. For the alphabets are the columns. Okay, alphabets are the columns. So you can say this is column D. You put your cursor here, you can see that this is column D. Alphabets are the columns. This is column E. This is column F. But the numbers are the row. We have row 1, row 2, row 3, and row 4. So what do you want to do? Because we know that our what's it called? Our gross salary is in AL5. So let's come to this box that you can see here. Can anybody see this small box at the left-hand side of the Excel screen? At the top, the small box below file. There's this file. There's a file.
Yes.
Yes.
The
So
blue box.
this small box now is what we call the name box. Name. N-A-M-E. Name box. So whatever you have in this name box, that is where it's highlighted on Excel. So now, because we want to go to the gross salary, let's quickly type. We know the gross salary is AL5. AL and then 5. Sorry. AL5. So let's now click enter. So you can see automatically it's taking us to AL5. So that is that place at the top is what we call the name box. So what we want to do is that we want to make sure that anywhere we drag our formula to, Excel is not leaving column AL. Excel is not leaving column AL. Why? Because column AL is where we have our gross salary. So let me now show something so that you understand why we need to make something relative and others we need to make them absolute. Let me come over here without me touching the formula. Let me try and drag this formula from where it is. This formula automatically is on E5. If you go to the name box, you will see that there is E5 here. So here it means that where column E meets row 5, that is where it's highlighted. Where column E meets row 5, that is what is highlighted. So what do you want to do? Let's assume that we didn't touch the Excel. We didn't touch the formula. Excel, I told us, is calculating as a relative reference. So, but we can decide to make it an absolute or not. So let's now come and assume that we want to drag this formula that we have in cell E5. So we drag the formula and we now bring it over all the way to this. Sorry, you bring it all the way to this side because we believe that both of them, all of them should be calculating at 10%. Abi? So you can see that here, look at what Excel is doing now. Normally, everything should be 10%, but look at what Excel is doing. Excel has shifted the formula from AL5. What is Excel calculating our formula on? Excel is now calculating it on AM5. So that is why you need to learn how to tell Excel that Excel, no matter what you're doing, don't leave this cell. There's a particular cell I want to use for my computation. So what do we do? How do we do that? We now have to make this an absolute reference. So you now put your cursor before what you want to do. You can put it here. You can decide to put it here at this place. Now put your cursor here. So our cursor now is in front of AL5. Okay, so what do? We now go to our keyboard. Go and check for F4 on your keyboard. There's something they call F4 on your keyboard. So that's what you're going to press. So I'm going to press L4. You can see as I press my F4, some $sign are now showing before the column and the row. I told you that alphabet are the columns, while numbers are the row. So what column are we? AL, and what row? Row 5. So we've made them absolute reference. So anytime you can see a $sign before alphabet, and you can also see $sign before a number, know that we've made the column and the row, we make them absolute reference. It means that no matter where we drag our formula to, Excel will maintain that AL5 for us. It will not change it from us. So let's now go and redo it, and let's now drag this formula to this side. We're dragging the formula to this side, and fine. So you can see now, automatically now, we have everything aligned because everything should be 10%. Everything should be 10%. But there's a challenge. There's a little challenge, which I'm going to tell you, okay? There's a little challenge. Now, we've gotten what we are looking for, but we still need to still fine-tune this our formula. The reason is because this formula is only calculating on only one gross salary, and that gross salary is for the gross salary of this guy that is on the first row. There are other gross salaries, other places. Now, if we decide to use this thing like this, the way we do it now, we decide to now use this. So let me show us, because I like to always show us everything I'm doing. Let's say we decide now that we want to autofill this thing so that I can calculate the breakdown of other people's salary. It will not work. Why? Because we've made Excel to calculate that gross salary of only the first guy, and that is what Excel is calculating for us. That means that there's something we still need to do to our formula. Our formula is fine, but let's assume we want to autofill now. You will see that is the gross salary of the first guy now that Excel is going to autofill for us. Check, you can see Excel is autofilling only the gross salary of the guy at the first row. So what do we need to do in order to correct this? So we now discover that, okay, actually we really want Excel to calculate on the gross salary, but we also want Excel to be flexible enough so that Excel can consider other people's salary also, so that Excel will not be only calculating gross salary based on only one person's gross salary. So what do? Now we now come back to that place where our gross salary is AL5. Don't forget AL5. We click on OK. So you can see that our gross salary now, Excel is only calculating on 1,848,000 and so on and so forth. But we want Excel to be flexible, that Excel is not leaving AL, is not leaving column AL. However, it makes the row to be flexible. So Excel will not leave AL, but it will make the row to be flexible so that Excel can go down and be picking other people's salary, So what do? Let's now come back to Excel. We now come back to this place, the first place where we have our formula. We come back to the place where we have our formula, sorry. Yeah, so we come back to the place where we have our formula, because this is the beginning of it. We now come back to this place where we have our formula. We now say, okay, our AL now, it has a $sign before it. Our our role also has a dollar sign before it. That's not what we want to achieve. We want our column to be absolute, but we don't want our role to be absolute. So what do? The dollar sign that we have in front of 5, we need to eliminate it. So what do? We press F4 again. F4. Okay. Then we need to press F4 again. F4. So now we now have dollar sign before AL, which is fine. Meaning that is making AL to be permanent, but the letter 5, there is no dollar sign in front of it. That is what we want to achieve. We want the column to be flexible. We don't want the row to shift away. We want the row to be exactly where the gross salary is, but we want the column to be flexible so that Excel can pick other people's gross salary. And this is fine by us. So what do? Now we now autofill this one now back to where we want it to be, so that we can have what we want to actually achieve. Hope I'm not too fast.
No.
Okay, I might be too slow, sir. Okay, I just want to be sure that I'm carrying everybody along. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So pardon me, we'll soon be done with this stage. For those people that are Excel gurus that don't need all these absolute, relative, and all those stuff, but we'll still get to formulas now where you will still need, even if you're a guru, you still need to calm down. Calm down for Jesus. Okay, so let's come over here. Yeah, for those Muslims among us, I apologize. Okay, so I come here now. Oh, this is just me, baby. So when I come here, now after I've set everything I want to achieve, I come here and then I come to autofill. So I now come here, I drag it down. I hope I'm doing the right thing. Okay, so I drag it down to this side, and voila, you can see now. So now Excel now, as is answering us, is doing exactly what we wanted. Is not giving us the same figure anymore. Excel has made our column absolute, then the row, it made it to be relative. So the first thing we have learned on this training is that our gross salary, in case you are in the finance department and they're asking you to break down gross salary, you have idea of what to do, how to go about it now. So that is the first step. Number 2, we've also learned how to also do relative and absolute referencing. Fine. We've been able to break down these salaries that we are giving into different compartments based on the policy of the organization. The policy of the organization is very important, but in a situation whereby the organization doesn't have any policy, you can't afford to be blank. You have to know what to do. So now we've been able to get the gross salary. So the gross salary now, everything is now calculating into the gross emolument. So the gross emolument is now the new gross that we have. You will discover that this our gross emolument is going to be different from the actual gross, because in this our gross emolument, any other benefit that the staff is entitled to, probably overtime and any other thing that you want to include in payroll, they are all going to be added together. So you can see that here, overtime is here and is part of what we added to get our gross emolument. Fine. We've been able to work on our gross emolument. It means that they can give you a gross, and then you can also come and calculate another gross based on other additional benefits that the staff is entitled to. So that's fine. So now we've been able to arrive at the total income that belongs to the staff. Now the next thing we want to do is that, just like the way we have gross income or total income or revenue for a company, we have deductions that is allowable. So let's come over here. Let's come and look at all those normal deductions. The first deduction that we're going to look at is what we call pension. Okay, so now for you, pension, we have it's 2 people that contribute pension. The employer contributes pension, the employee also contributes pension. So here, the employee usually contributes 8% of basic housing and transportation. So if you check this formula now, this formula, I added D5 plus E5 plus F5. So let's go and check. What is our D5? So we come here, we type in our name box at the top, we type D5. What is D5? So let's click on OK. So look at D5. D5 is basic, okay? Look at D5 is selected. Then if E5 is housing, F5 is transportation. So those three things were added together. They will now multiply it by 8% because that is what the employee decided to pay. That is the employee's contribution based on the pension law that is applicable. So that is what the employee needs to pay. Now, the next thing we're also going to look at is, apart from this, our pension that is deductible from the salary, okay, before you arrive at your taxable income, okay? So apart from this pension that is deductible before you arrive at your taxable income, we still have other deductions that are also very, very important. So for pension is only 8% for staff. Then employers will contribute 10%. So let's now come over to this side. Apart from pension, we have what we call NHF, National Housing Fund. And National Housing Fund is always 2.5% of basic salary. 2.5% of your basic salary, that's what gives you your NHF. Then the next thing, we have your NSIT. NSITF is 1% of your gross emolument. You will see all those things at the top. I make it easy for us. I put them at the top. 1% of your gross emolument is your NSITF. Then also your ITF is the same thing. 1% of your gross emolument is your ITF. Then another thing that is important is what we call your life insurance. Now, the life insurance, company does life insurance for staff, but the one that company does is not relevant. The one that is relevant is that one that the staff did for himself or for his spouse. That pension that the staff did for himself and also did for his spouse, that is the one that is actually important. So what do they do? It's on preceding year basis. Any life assurance that you've done in 2024, you come and claim, use it to claim. It's like it's an allowable deduction in another year. Okay, so that is why we have, apart from pension, we have NHF, we have NSITF, we have ITF, and so on and so forth. Then after we've seen all these ones, this is where now we look at the tax law. What is the tax law saying? What is the difference between what we have before and what we have now? So the tax law now, before we used to have consolidated relief, right? Consolidated relief based on the what we have before. We have 1% or 200,000 of the gross emolument, whichever is higher. That is one consolidated relief plus 20% of the gross emolument. So those are the relief that were given to us before, so that when we have deducted all those relief, apart from all these natural expenses that we are deducting, what is applicable before is higher of 1% or 200,000 of your gross emolument plus what is the next one? Plus 20% of your gross emolument. They will allow you to deduct it. Okay. So after you've deducted that from your gross salary, whatever is now remaining is what you now say is the taxable income, which you now start applying the tax table to. So in place of that, this is what we are going to have. In place of that, we are going to have what we call the rent relief. Okay. In place of all those consolidated relief that we normally enjoy before, we are going to have what we call the rent relief. And that rent relief, how do we calculate it? The rent relief is actually calculated as the lower of your, you have what we call your actual rent, right? Your actual rent. Probably I stay in Banana Island, for instance, and I'm paying 20 billion per month or per year. Okay. So if I'm paying 20 billion per year, so that's rent, that is the actual rent. So you now, to get what your rent relief is going to be, take 20% of your actual rent. If my actual rent is actually 20 billion, okay, because I stay in Banana Island, okay, I like good thing. So if my actual rent is 20 billion, and I take 20% of it, so I'll now compare that 20%. I compare it with 500 because that is the cap. You can't go beyond 500,000. That is the ceiling. Okay, so you now take 20% of your actual rent. Okay, compare it to 500,000 and see which of them is lower. If your actual, if 20% of your actual rent is lower than 500,000, take 20% of your actual rent. But if 500,000 is lower than the 20% of your actual rent, then limit yourself to 500,000. So I've used Excel to explain that thing that they say. The taxman said something. He made a theory. So you, as a tax practitioner or as a consultant that you are, you'll be able to give what the taxman has said, give it meaning, right? Give it meaning, make it have flesh, let it be obvious, they can see it. So the taxman is saying, take 20% of your actual rent. So here, on this column, I have column W, I have my actual rent here. The first person actually paid 1.5 million. The second person is paying 430 million. That is the actual rent. The next person is paying 700,000. The next one is paying 2.5 and so on and so forth. So the taxman is saying that what I'm going to allow as the relief now is the lower of 20% of your actual rent, okay, or 500,000. So lower of, so let me put it here. Sorry, let me put it here. Lower of 20% of actual rent. So lower of 20% of actual rent. So lower of 20% of actual rent and 500,000. Okay, and 500,000. So 500,000 have disappeared because, okay, so that's fine. Lower of 20% of actual rent and 500,000. So that's what we are doing here. So I'm using a formula to do it. Remember that as I'm taking all this course, I'm also taking us Excel. We've looked at relative referencing and absolute referencing today. We've looked at what we call the name box. So the next thing we are going to look at is let's now look at our if formula again. If formula is very, very important. It's important that we know if formula because it's very important in everything we are doing. If. So I told us last time that an if formula is made up of three things. The first one is a statement, and then the next one is two answers. One answer that you are going to get if the statement you made is correct, and then the answer you are going to get if the statement you made is wrong. So what the taxman is saying that that we should compare 20% of our actual rent compared to 500,000. So let's now use that and tell Excel what Excel should do. So look at what I'm doing now. I said, let me try and make this thing visible. The formula. Okay, so this is the formula. Can you see the formula, everybody? Can you see this formula?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so look at it now.
I can see it.
Thank you, thank you. So this is what I'm doing. I have what I call W5. W5 is actually where the actual rent is. So if I go to the name box now, this name box, okay, and I'm asking myself, I say, what is actually W5? I don't know what W5 is. I just type W5 here, okay. The name box is at the the left-hand side corner under file. If you check your Excel, you see there's a small box, okay. So when I put W5 there and I click on enter, it will bring me straight to where our W5 is. Our W5 is actually 1.5 million. So let's go back to this formula. So this formula now, what is this formula saying? I told us that we want to explain what the taxman told us to do. The taxman has given us an instruction. So we are using if to do it. We know that we need to make a statement. When we make a statement, then Excel is going to choose. We are going to make a statement. We are also going to set two answers. Excel is going to pick whichever answers that best suit the statement we have made. Remember that the statement we have made, Excel is going to check is that statement correct or is the statement wrong? If the statement is correct, and Excel is going to pick the answer that you need to get when a statement is correct. And what is the answer? The answer is the first answer that you set after you made your statement. Okay, so let's look at this statement now. We are saying, if we are trying to start the statement out, we say 20% of my actual rent, okay, is greater than 500,000. So I've made a statement. I'm telling Excel that, CEO Excel, 20% of my actual rent is actually greater than 500,000. So Excel will now check it. Is it true? Is 20% of my actual rent, is it greater than 500,000? So what is my actual rent? My W5 is telling me is 1.5 million. So what is 20% of 1.5 million? Who can quickly do that for me? 20% of 1.5 million. Who can do that for me quickly?
300,000.
Come again?
300,000.
Okay, so I'm telling Excel. This is what I'm telling you. I'm telling Excel that 300,000 is greater than 500,000. That's what I'm telling Excel. And is it correct?
No.
It's not correct. So now you are going to make a statement to Excel. Now, whether the statement is correct or not, Excel is going to find out. And when Excel finds out, Excel is going to pick the answer that goes with that statement. If that statement is true, Excel usually pick the first answer you set. But if that statement is false, Excel will take the second answer that you set. So yeah, I made a statement. I said 300,000 is greater than 500,000. Excel thought about it. Is it true? Excel say no, it's not true. So already I've set the first answer. I say if this my 300,000 is greater than 500,000, if it's true, then give me 500,000. However, if it's false, then give me 20% of my rent. Do you understand that now? So this is what I'm saying. I say 20% of my rent is actually greater than 500,000. I've made my statement. And then I check my rent. He said my rent is actually 1.5. 20% of 1.5 is 300,000. So 300,000 can never be greater than 500,000. So the statement is false. So the Excel will not pick the first answer. Excel will rather pick the second answer. And what is the second answer? The second answer is give me the 20% of my actual rent. So, and that is what Excel did. And that is what Excel is going to give. So you now check now. That is why we have 300,000 here. Okay. That's why we have 300,000 here. So also, we also did the same thing for the second person. That formula is just the same. Once you have been able to get the formula for the first place, is what you're going to use. Just auto fill it down to wherever you are. So you discover that Excel is not difficult. The tax law is not difficult. It's your interpretation that matters, whether you are going to be getting it right or whether you're going to be getting it wrong. Okay, then your ability to also fine-tune your formulas to match what the taxman is saying. That's what makes you a professional. So here now, we've been able to finalize with our rent relief. Once you've been able to tell Excel, make that statement, and Excel has thought about it, and you set the right answers that Excel should pick, Excel is going to work perfectly for you. So here, let's now look at this place. This place here, let's look at what is happening here where we have 500,000, okay? This is what I told Excel. I told Excel that 20% of my annual rent is actually greater than 500,000. So you can see, I say 20% of my actual rent is greater than 500,000. So is it true? So what is my actual rent? My actual rent is actually 2.5 million. So somebody should quickly calculate what is 20% of 2.5 million. What's the answer?
500,000.
Okay, so 500,000. So what I'm telling Excel is I say 500,000 is greater than 500,000. Is it correct? Is 500,000 greater than 500,000?
No.
No.
No, it's not greater than it. So since the answer is false, Excel is not going to give me the first answer I pick. The first answer I pick is like 500,000. But the second answer I pick, second answer is, I say Excel, if my answer is false, then go and give me 20% of my actual rent. And 20% of my actual rent is actually 500,000. And that is why we are having 500,000 here. So let's now do something else. In order for us to understand this formula properly, let's now do something. Let's come to this place. Let's put 500. Let's put 5 million. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 5 million. So look at what Excel is doing. So let's do another thing here. Let's put 1.8 million. 1.8, 1.8, 1, 2, 3, 1.8 million. So you can see that here now, Excel is operating based on the information I've given it. Let's look at what is happening under this 5 million. So let's look at the formula again. Under the 5 million, what am I telling Excel to do? Under the 5 million, I told Excel, I said 20% of my actual rent, which is 5 million, is greater than 500,000. So what is 20% of 500,000? Oh, sorry, of 5 million? Who can tell me? 20% of 5 million.
1 million.
Come again?
1 million.
1 million.
1 million.
1 million. So I'm telling Excel, I said 1 million is greater than 500,000. Is it correct or not?
Correct.
It's correct.
Correct.
So Excel is now giving me the first answer, because whenever your statement is correct, Excel is going to give you the first answer. Which, yes, but if your statement is false, Excel would have given you the second answer. But because the statement is true, 1 million is actually greater than 500,000, and that is why Excel is giving me the answer that it usually gives when a statement is true. So that is how we're able to do the rent relief. So do we have any question on the rent relief? Can we go on to get other areas?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Please go ahead. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay, fine.
No,
I can hear you.
I have an observation, sir.
Okay, go on.
Our if statement,
Okay.
if we use if W whatever is greater than or equal to 500,000, give us 500,000.
Okay.
Otherwise, give us 20% of the actual rent.
Okay.
Is it not going to give us the same answer?
No, it wouldn't. The reason is this. What we are doing is this. When you are saying W6, W6 is actually your actual rent, and that is not what the taxman is telling you. The taxman is not comparing your actual rent, it's comparing 20% of your actual rent. So if you do that other way, you are going to get it wrong. The taxman is not comparing your actual rent to 500,000. He's actually comparing 20% of your actual rent is what the taxman is comparing.
I said 20% of actual rent greater than or equal to 500,000.
It will be the same thing. It will be the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. It won't change.
Okay.
It's the same thing. Yeah. Okay, so that is that. Now, when you now have your taxable income. Your taxable income was arrived at after we've deducted pension, we deducted NHF, we deducted ITF, we deducted NSITF, we deducted life insurance, which is that one that you paid for yourself and your spouse. And remember, it is going to be preceding year basis. So when you deducted all those things, you also deducted your rent relief that you are giving. Then you are going to now have your what? Taxable income. Don't forget that we are not deducting actual rent. Actual rent is just here so that we can get our formulas right. So our deductions, we are not deducting the actual rent. The actual rent here is just for formula's sake. So let me just change the formula. Let me change the color so that some people they will not go and think we are deducting that also. So it's just for so let me just leave it like this. So that's why it is like that. So we're not deducting the actual rent. We're only using it for our formula. So now we now have our taxable income. So now this is where you now need to go and use the tax table. Now, what is the tax table saying? What is that tax table saying? Initially, they told us that whatever is remaining out of your salary, after you've taken all those deductions, whatever is remaining in your salary, now start subjecting it to the first 300,000 at 7%, the second 300,000 at is 11%, and so on and so forth. But the tax table also has changed. So the tax table also has changed, and we no longer use the old table. So we need to use the new table now, and also we're also going to include it in our formula so that our formula can give us what we need. Okay, so that our formula can give us what we need. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so I don't want my system to go off. Let me quickly tell them to switch on the solar. Sorry. Just give me 2 minutes. 2 minutes alone. I'm not leaving my seat because. So now we've done that. So now let me now ask us, as I am trying to communicate with someone. So now, what is the new tax table? Can anybody remind me?
The first 800,000 is tax-free. That is 0%. The next 2.2 will be at 15%.
Okay.
The next 9 million will be at 19%.
Oh, 18%.
18%, yes.
18%, yes.
That's how far I can go.
Okay, it's right, sir. It's right. So we are going to see it. We are going to see it in the formula. So let me quickly just give this instruction. Sorry. Okay, so now let me now tell us what is applicable, and we're going to see it in the formula as well. I'm going to show us the formula and how to apply it. Okay. The formula and how to apply it. So now, for those of us that want to write it, just like he said, the first 800,000 is at 0%. That's the first 800,000, 0%. Then the next 2.2 million is at 15%. Then the next 9 million is at 18%. Then I think we have is it the next 12 million? Let me quickly check to be sure. Okay, I sent it today. I will also share it to the group now. Let me share it to the group so that we can all see it. Let me also use the opportunity to call. Okay, so I'll share it to the group now. Just give me 2 minutes. I'm coming. Okay, so I've seen it. I want to copy now. So the next switch up the solar now. Okay, so as I was saying, yeah, so I've copied. I will share it on the group now. So the next, you see it on the charts now, so you can use it. Okay, this is it. If you see it, let me know so that we can continue, because I will need us to follow through while we are doing this formula. I'll share it on the group. If you see it, you let me know. All right. So here, I've shared it. It will drop now. I don't, maybe the network or something, but it will drop shortly. So the first, just like we said, the first 800,000 is actually at 0%. The next the next 2.2 is at 15%. The next 9 million is at 18%. The next 13 million is at 21%. The next 25 million is at 23%. The next 50 million is at 25%. So let's now look at this formula and let's understand how we are to apply it into our formula. So that's the next stage. So we now come to the formula. So after we've gotten our taxable income, the next thing we want to get is our computed annual tax. How do we compute it? Using the tax table. So let me click on it. Okay, I've clicked on it. Then I want to make it show the formula. Okay. So hold on. Let me show this formula. Formula. Hold on, I'm coming over. I want to show you the formula properly. Okay, so let me make this space bigger. Oh, it's too big. Okay, so let's try and look at this from. Oh, sorry. Let's try and look at this formula. Can you see what I'm doing? Can you see the formula?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the formula is very long, right? So the first thing we're
Yeah.
going to do is this. Now we are using an if statement, just like we normally do. We are using an if. Okay, so we now say we are making the first statement now. X5. What is our X5? That's the first thing. We need to understand what our X5 is before we continue this formula. So let's quickly go and check what our X5 is. So what is our X5? Let's go to the name box and click on X5. You don't need to go far. Whenever you are using Excel, just go to the name box and click on X5 and click enter. So look at X5 now. Our X5, let me make it show. Our X5 is actually the taxable income. So it's that taxable income now that we want to break down using the tax table. So we now come back to the tax table. Okay, I want to show us the formula. So we now come back to the tax table and I'm coming up. So yeah, so this is the formula. Sorry, let me make this thing wider again. Yeah, so this is the formula. So the formula now is telling you that X5, which is the taxable income, right, is less than and equal to 800,000. So he has made a statement. So the first statement is that he's saying that taxable income that we have there in that box, he's saying that it is actually less than 800,000. That is what he's telling Excel. He has made a statement. So Excel will now go to X5 and go and check what is in X5. So let's go and check what is in X5, just like the way Excel also we do. Okay, just like the way Excel also we do. So what is in X5? X5 is actually, let's go and check. So look at X5. So what I'm going to do here is this. I'm going to type, let me type X5 at the top. So X5, and then what's our X5? Our X5 is 1,492,000. Then we have 056. So this is what our X5 is. So fine. So let's now come back to our formula. So this is our formula. So check the formula bar now. This time I don't want to widen it. Check the formula bar. So then I will make this thing come down so that we can see the formula bar appropriately. So now this is the formula bar. Okay, so check the formula bar now. This time you can zoom your screen. I hope you can hear me clearly. I hope there's no noise in the background. Is there any noise?
Hear you, no noise.
No noise. We are with you. We are with you, clear. We can hear you clearly.
Okay, so now we are using if now. We've made the first statement. The first statement is that X5 is less than the taxable income. Our X5, this is our X5, 1,492,000 and something like that. So we need to ask ourselves this question. Is it correct? Is our X5, is it actually less than 800,000? Who can give me the answer? Is it less than 800,000?
No, it is not.
It is not. That means that it is false. Is that not so?
Yes.
So if it's false, it means Excel will not give us the first answer. Naturally, if it's true, Excel would have given us the first answer. The first answer here is 0. Now, Excel naturally would have given us the first answer if our statement was correct. But because our statement is not correct, Excel is not going to give us the first answer. Excel is not going to pick what? The second answer. And the second answer is also an if statement. Okay, so that means that we are starting the if over again. So it's like that. When you are doing if, when you set if as the second answer, it means that you are starting over again. So it starts from where the answer is. That's where you're starting from. Okay. So yeah, we now come here, we now say X5, which is 1.4 million and something is less than 800,000. And if Excel look at it, Excel say no, it's not true. So Excel will not give us the answer that we would have gotten if the statement is true. Excel is giving us the answer that is false. That is supposed to give us when the answer is false. And that answer that we said is another if statement. So what is this next if statement? The next if statement is saying X5 is actually lower or equal to 3 million. So let's check our X5. Our X5 is 1.4 million. Is it lower than 3 million? What's the answer?
Yes, it's lower than 3 million.
Yes. So
Yes.
so X5 is actually lower than 3 million. So because X5 is lower than 3 million, what will Excel do? Excel will give us the first answer. Am I right?
Yes.
So what is the first answer? We told Excel that, okay, from your X5, which is this amount, from your X5, which is this amount, who is this person disturbing the club?
Modupe.
Please don't disturb the class, Modupe. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Let's continue. Now we now come back to this place. Now we now say, so since this statement is correct, Excel is going to pick the first answer that we said. And the first answer is saying from your X5, okay, minus 800,000, whatever is now remaining, multiplied by 15%. So check the group. That thing I sent to the group. We discovered that the formula is saying the first 800,000 should be at 0%. Then the remaining should not be at the remaining after. Oh, I think this thing has not dropped. Okay, it has dropped. So the remaining, you not charge it at 15%. So that's what we told Excel. We now say, okay, from our X5 now, minus the 800,000 that is usually at 0%, okay, then whatever is remaining, multiply by 15%. And that is where it stopped because our X5 here was actually lower than 3 million. So somebody should ask me, I was expecting people to ask me a question that, why are we comparing it to 3 million? Okay, why are we comparing it to 3 million? Why are we not comparing it to either 2.2 or something like that? But nobody's asking. Okay, nobody's asking that.
That's up to that level. That is 800,000 plus. We are comparing it to the total sum up to that level. That is the 800,000 plus 2.2.
Yeah, that's good. That's correct. That's correct, sir. Okay, so that's that. However, even if we decide to put 2.2 here, if we decide to put 2.2 here, as far as X5 is lower than 2.2, right? We are still going to say our X5, right, minus the 800,000, whatever is remaining, we now multiply it by 15%. We are still going to get the same answer. Do you understand this? So, but it's fine that you got it that way, that we are adding the first 800,000 plus the 2.2 million to make it 3 million. Fine. So, and that is where we stopped for the first one, because this one did not go beyond 3 million. So it stopped at the 3 million, which is, that 3 million is the first 800,000 at 0%, the next 2.2 at 15%. So that's where this one stopped. This one is not more than 3 million. So you cannot go beyond that. So let's now check for another one that can go beyond that. Let's check for the next figure, which is let me check for something else. Let's go to 10. Let's go to 10. Let me see. Fine. So let's check for this. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm coming. I want to check for something. Yeah, 1.5. Then okay, X10, 10 million, X10. Sorry, let me go and check my taxable income for 10 million. The highest figure. Sorry, I'm just trying to, okay, I've seen, okay, so let's work for this one, which is when our taxable income is 10 million, let's see what happens, okay? So we now come to this formula. So under this formula now, what is our X? Our X33 is actually 10 million and something. So let's change this one. So this one is no longer X5. This one is now X33, right? So our X33 is actually 10 million something. What's that X33 again? Where is it? Okay, let me come here and put it in the name box. So X33, check. So X33 is actually 10 million 184,400. So 10 million 184,400. 10 million 184. Then we now have 400. So that's our X33. So let's now go and check for what we are doing. So we now come to this place now. Let's now check the formula. Okay, now we already know that this is 10 million, right? And 10 million can never, we cannot stop at the first statement, because the first statement is saying our 10 million is less than 800,000, which we know is false. We know Excel will never pick 0. Excel will actually go to the next answer, which is another if statement, okay? And here, this if statement, Excel is saying 10 million is less than 3 million. Is it true?
No.
It's not true. So because it's not true, right? Excel will not pick, Excel is not going to pick this, it's not going to pick the first answer. Excel is actually going to pick the second answer. And the second answer is another if statement. Okay? Now this if statement now, this statement is saying 10 million is less than 12 million. Is it true?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because it's true, Excel is going to pick the answer that we are going to pick when something is true. So the answer that follows is that Excel is saying that, okay, since 10 million is less than 12 million, right? Before we arrive at this 12 million, we must have taken 0% of 800,000. We must have taken 15% of 2.2. We must have also taken let's say is it 18% of 9 million or something like that? Okay, so I think that is that stage that we have. We need to take 18% of 9 million before we now decide to now go and take is it 21% of what's the next level? Let me check it. The next level is yeah, I think 13 million or so. 13 million or thereabout.
It's 13 million at 21%.
Yeah, so 13 million at 21%. So now let's now check what Excel is saying. Now Excel is saying that at this level, since we are saying 10 million is less than 12 million. So we already know that before we get to 10 million, or before we get to 12 million or thereabouts, okay, which is going to be the 3 million plus the 9 million, which is going to be so that means that the first 800,000 at 0%, the second 2.2 million at 15%, and then the next 9 million at 18%. So that's why they are adding 800,000 plus 2.2 million plus 9 million. So that's why they are arriving at 12 million. So that is the stage that they have. So we are in the level of, we are past the level of 0%, we are past the level of 15%, we are now in the level of 18%. So what do we now do? We now say, okay, if we are in this level, we must have taken the first 800,000, we must have taken it at 0%, we must have taken the next 2.2 million, we must have taken it at 15%. So 2.2 million times 15%. Who can tell me the answer? 2.2 million times 15%. What's the answer?
330,000.
So now we say, okay, we have dealt with the first 800,000 at 0%. We have dealt with 2.2 million at 15%. So that's how we have arrived at this tax payable for the 2.2 million. But I say, okay, plus now take this, our X33 minus the first 3 million that we've dealt with by saying 800,000 at 0%, 2.2 million at 15%. So now take, because we've calculated tax on those 800,000, we've calculated tax on it at 0%. 2.2 million, we calculated tax on it at 15%. Then we now say, okay, out of this 10 million, minus those things that we calculated tax on, we've calculated tax so on 3 million, okay? The first 800,000, 0%, the second 2.2 at 15%. So whatever is now remaining, when you take this 10 million, you minus the 3 million, whatever is remaining, now multiply by 18%. Multiply it by 18%. And that is what is going to give us the answer that we need. So that is how they were able to get the answer that they have in this place. So you can see that here, what they're having is what? 1.6. So let's do the mathematics, right? Let's do the mathematics. So from this 10 million now, minus, from this 10 million,
1,623,000.
Is correct, Abby? So from this 10 million, minus 3 million, okay, whatever is remaining, multiply by 18%, then add 330,000 to it and see whether you're going to get these 1,623,000 and so on and so forth. So that is how we're able to do for everything. So if the taxable income increases, the formula is enough to accommodate it. The formula is enough to accommodate whatever is there. I hope we are together, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is how we're able to get that. So we'll be able to format this one to accommodate whatever comes through, even up to 25% that they put for 50 million. So we are being able to do that. So the next thing we want to do is that once we are done with that, the next thing is that we've gotten our computed annual tax. Then we also want to get our computed minimum tax. Our minimum tax is always 1% of our gross emolument. So 1% of our gross emolument. So we have to compare. At all, you cannot pay below the minimum tax. As far as you are in that level where you should pay tax, okay? At all, you can't pay below the minimum tax. So when they are telling you that people that their salary is below so and so, they will also check. They will check your annual computed tax. They will check it with the minimum tax. If it's a situation whereby under your computed tax, maybe you even fall under the 0% range. Okay, you fall under the zero. Maybe your salary is just 800,000. Okay, once they compute your tax for 800,000 and they discover that you are to pay tax at 0%, they will still compare it with the minimum tax. That means that no matter what, you cannot run away from paying tax. You are going to, if they calculated it your 800,000 at 0%, they will still compare it with the minimum tax, the computed annual tax with the minimum tax. Whichever is higher is what they're going to pick. So obviously, if you fall into the 800,000 range and then you have to pay 0%, then they will come here and wait for you under minimum tax. You still go and pay your minimum tax. So how do we get our minimum tax? Our minimum tax is actually 1% of our gross emolument. So whether you like it or not. So let's do an example now. Let's do an example, okay? Let's quickly do an example. Let's assume that what we have here is only 800,000. Let's do an example, okay? So let me just take away the formula. Let me just put 800,000 here. 800,000. I just want us to understand and learn. Okay, let's assume this 800,000. So you discover that here, our computed annual tax, because this is 800,000, it actually stopped at the first place where it's saying if, so where am I? Okay, yeah, so this is where I am. So here it's stopped here where it's saying that if 29 x29, okay, our x29 is actually 800,000. If it's less than or equal to 800,000, okay, so it's asking that, is it less than 800,000? No. Is it equal to 800,000? Yes, it is. So therefore, because that statement is correct, it's going to pick what? 0. And that is why our computed annual tax is 0. So here, they will still compute your minimum tax here. And then when they now want to now select the annual tax that they're going to pick, they're still going to select that annual tax where the minimum tax was used. And that is what they're going to divide your minimum tax by 12, which is going to form what you're going to pay. So whether you like it or not, you are not exempted from paying tax. Whether your salary falls into 800,000 or where you feel that you are paying tax at 0%, they will still compare it to your annual minimum tax. So you are going to pay the higher of it. So higher of 0 and this is actually the minimum tax. So therefore, they are going to pick your minimum tax for you. And that minimum tax is what they are going to use and divide it by 12 to get your monthly payable. So do not be deceived. Do not be deceived. You are going to pay tax.
Wow.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Observations.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In this, the new tax law
Yes.
does not talk about minimum tax. It's only the company, for the company income tax, that we have effective tax rate. The minimum tax is abolished in the new tax act.
That
Yes.
abolished, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, minimum tax has not been abolished.
Minimum tax, check through the tax law. Minimum
Okay,
tax.
in the tax law. Okay.
If you look at it, when they are talking of minimum tax, that is where they take 0.5% for individual, 1%, and for company is 0.5% of your turnover.
Yes.
That the two have been abolished, and that of company income tax is replaced by effective tax rate. And the effective tax rate is where the company income tax is less than 15% of your profit, less 5% of depreciation, and your employees salary. You will pay the top up. That's the position of the new tax law.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you very much, sir, for that clarification. So now I purposely put this minimum tax here because I knew that there's going to be debate on it, okay, so that we can all arrive at one mind. So now this calls for more findings. So you don't just attend a training and assume that you're going to get everything. So you need to also go and do your own findings, okay, in order to. So now we have seen that here they said the minimum tax has been abolished. So go and do your own proper findings in order to be able to confirm that assertion. Okay. So me, I do not dispute it that it has been abolished. Okay. I do not dispute it. So, but I want every other person also to go on to find out what it's saying. Okay. So that is how to compute our tax. So as an assignment, let's go and read up for the minimum tax in the new tax law. Whatever it's saying, we come back tomorrow. So yeah, we're seeing meeting tomorrow. Yes. So we'll come back tomorrow and come and finalize. Okay.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with this, we have come to the end of today's class. Right. So I think from next time, we'll just start looking at how to now go and file online, how to go and file online. So at least we've covered a lot of places. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send us this template. Now with this template now, just know that there are certain things that you need to read up on your own to be able to tell, okay, is this applicable or is it not applicable any longer? So go and read up to be able to get more clarity. But I've shown us two critical areas that you need to concentrate on, where you need to look at the tax table, and also where you need to also look at the rent relief. Okay, we're going to look at the rent relief. So with that, do we have anybody that have any question? Can we call it a day for today?
Thank you, sir. We can call it a day.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Thank
Okay,
you so much, God.
Yeah, Madam Odibai, you are saying something?
I say thank you so much. God bless her till tomorrow.
Okay, okay. So thank you, everybody. Make your
Thank you,
findings,
sir.
read up, and let's meet tomorrow to finalize.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Good. Do have a lovely night rest.
I you too, sir. Bye.
Don't forget to drop the templates.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I
sir.
will.
Okay.